All right, so today we're diving into something pretty wild. Online friendships, loyalty tests, all that good stuff, and some seriously explosive drama. We're talking Miss X, Dr. Disrespect,
Yeah.
and a fallout that seems like it has like the whole internet buzzing right now.
Yeah, it's everywhere you look.
You sent me a mountain of articles, Reddit threads that are on fire, and even some spicy Twitter beef to get us started. So, yeah, it looks like we've got our hands full trying to unpack this one.
Absolutely. Should be fun.
So we're diving deep into how a friendship that seemed like rock solid. I mean, remember that Super Bowl hangout they had? They shared values. Dr. Disrespect even went to bat for Miss X against Activision that time.
Yeah, it seemed like they were really tight.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
to see this happen is kind of crazy, you know, and it suddenly imploded.
It's pretty amazing, actually, how quickly things can change in the online world. One minute you're toasting to success, and the next it's all-out digital war.
Yeah, you said it. So, okay, for anyone who hasn't been glued to the drama, Dr. Disrespect gets banned from Twitch back in 2020, right?
Right.
Now, fast forward, he makes his big comeback and claims he knows the legal definition of sexting, implying that's the reason behind the ban. But then, get this, he doesn't give any specifics. So it's like,
Oh, it's going on.
yeah, cue the internet going into full-on detective mode, trying to figure out what went down.
Yeah, everyone's trying to put the pieces together.
And that's when Nickmercs steps in and drops a bombshell. Instead of staying quiet or offering the usual "we support you" message, he comes out swinging with this. It's not about legality. I firmly believe he was wrong.
I remember seeing that. I
Yeah.
was floored.
It was shocking, right?
For sure, especially considering their history, like we were just talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a direct statement. And it immediately throws gasoline on the fire, in my opinion, and puts Dr. Disrespect in a difficult position where he can either try to defend himself, potentially making things worse, or stay silent and risk looking guilty.
Oh, for sure. There was no winning there, it seems like.
And of course, the internet completely loses its mind. Over on Reddit, we've got fans accusing Nickmercs of betrayal, right? Saying
Yeah.
he's throwing Dr. Disrespect under the bus
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
after all the support Doc gave him in the past.
Definitely, some people feel that way.
But at the same time,
It's interesting, though, because you also have this other wave of fans. They're calling out what they see as hypocrisy from Nickmercs. Yeah, they're bringing up the whole Magier hat incident from a while back and questioning if his values are all talk and no action.
wow, okay, so both sides have their arguments.
Yeah.
I see what you mean about it blowing up online.
Yeah.
That's what makes this so fascinating, right? It's not just a simple disagreement between two people online. It digs into this whole debate about how much a streamer's past should actually influence our opinion of them today.
100%. It really exposes the complexity, I think, of online personas and how difficult it is to separate someone's real-life actions from the image they project online, especially when they're streaming all the time.
Yeah, it makes you think. And the lack of concrete details from Dr. Disrespect only makes things murkier, right? It's like we're left with this vacuum where everyone is free to interpret the situation based on their own biases and assumptions.
You always have that, yeah.
So it becomes less about what actually happened and more about who you choose to believe, which is kind of scary when you think about it.
Yeah, that's the internet for you.
It really is sometimes.
Sometimes, always.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that.
And that's really where I think the real meat of this deep dive lies, grappling with these huge questions of loyalty and betrayal, especially in the digital age.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because it's not just about Nickmercs and Dr. Disrespect anymore, is it?
Right. It's way bigger.
It's about how we navigate these really blurry lines when it comes to friendship, morality,
Yeah.
especially when it seems like everyone's watching online.
Yeah, it feels like this whole situation, it's like shining a spotlight on the fact that, we're constantly forming these opinions about people based on these little snippets of information we see. And it's often curated by them
Yeah.
to try to fit a certain narrative, you know what I mean?
100%. And it's like, those narratives rarely ever tell the whole story. So when something like this blows up, like we're seeing right now, it forces us to confront this idea that maybe we don't know these streamers as well as we think we do.
Yeah, for sure. Makes you wonder, how much are we willing to overlook? When it comes to people we admire online, I mean, is there a point where supporting someone means compromising your own values?
That's the question, right? Because on the surface, it's easy to say, always be loyal to your friends.
Right.
But the reality is it's just far more nuanced than that, especially when you factor in the weight of everything, of the allegations against Dr. Disrespect, even if they haven't been publicly proven.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know all the details.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes Nickmercs' stance so thought-provoking is that he didn't just distance himself from Dr. Disrespect. He took a firm moral stand, saying, I firmly believe he was wrong. Basically saying, I don't care what the legal definition is, this is about right and wrong.
Yeah, and that is really interesting to me. It's like he's throwing a wrench into this whole bros before hoes mentality that you see sometimes in these online spaces, where it's like loyalty should just trump everything else, and he's challenging that.
It's a powerful statement, for sure.
He really is.
It's like what he's saying is, look, I can be disappointed in your actions, right? Yeah. And still care about you as a person, but I'm not going to compromise my values to blindly defend you.
Exactly. And honestly, I think that's a message that really resonates beyond just this situation, you know?
For sure. It's bigger than this.
It applies to all of our relationships, really, online and offline. Recognizing that we can hold people accountable for their actions without necessarily writing them off entirely.
Right, and that's the thing. We all make mistakes.
Exactly.
And you mentioned earlier how difficult it is to separate someone's online persona from their real-life actions.
Right.
And this is where I think that gets really interesting, especially for someone like Nickmercs, who has built his whole brand on loyalty and authenticity.
Absolutely. This is huge for his brand.
And now he's facing accusations of hypocrisy, with people bringing up his own past controversies, like the Mag Jihad incident.
Oh, yeah. That's not going away.
So we're talking about a situation where, like, past actions are being used to question present choices. You know?
Yeah, it's tough.
It makes you wonder, in this age of the internet, can anyone ever truly escape their past?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Especially for public figures like Nickmercs and Dr. Disrespect. These guys are constantly building and refining their online brands, and this entire situation is like the perfect example of how the internet never forgets, you know?
For sure. It's always there. And it forces us to confront this truth, that we all have moments in our past that we might not be proud of.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's got those.
But when you're a streamer, those moments aren't just between you and your friends anymore. It's like they're out there for the whole world to see and judge.
For sure, and that's the risk you take, I guess, with this kind of stuff.
Right, exactly. And to make matters even more complex, we're dealing with a situation where the full truth, it's like, we don't actually know, right?
You're missing something.
It remains elusive.
Yeah.
Dr. Disrespect has offered his side of the story.
Yeah.
But without any concrete details.
Yeah.
You know, it leaves a lot of room for interpretation and speculation.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle with like half the pieces missing, and everyone's left to just like fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Based on their own perceptions and biases, you know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And that actually brings us to, I think, another crucial aspect of this whole thing, this idea of narrative in the digital age.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, because ultimately, this isn't just about what happened behind closed doors, but it's about how that event is being framed and presented to the public, you know?
That's really what it comes down to, yeah.
Every statement, every word, every tweet, it all contributes to the narrative that each person is trying to build.
Like a game, almost.
It really is.
It's like high-stakes PR chess.
With both Nickmercs and Dr. Disrespect, like vying for control of this story.
100%. And the court of public opinion just becomes the battleground.
It's crazy how much it matters these days.
And it's fascinating to watch, right? How quickly those opinions can shift.
Yeah.
Based on just who's controlling that narrative.
Yeah, it really makes you think. So where do we go from here? That's what I want to know. Can Nickmercs and Dr. Disrespect move past this? Is there room for forgiveness and redemption in the digital age? I mean, honestly, that remains to be seen. But I think this situation has really exposed a lot of things, like just how fragile these online relationships can be, and the really long-lasting consequences of any kind of public action you take.
It's true. Things can change so quickly online.
Yeah.
And yeah, that also highlights the importance of like being able to think critically in this world that's just saturated with information, you know,
Totally.
as we navigate this digital age. We have to be mindful of everything,
Yeah.
of the narratives that are being presented to us.
Right, think for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Question your own assumptions, absolutely.
Yeah.
And recognize that there's always more to the story than what we see on the surface.
Yeah, don't believe everything you read online.
Exactly. Good advice. And maybe, just maybe, you know, this
Yeah.
whole Mercs and Dr. Disrespect saga, it could be a valuable lesson for all of us, right?
I think so.
A reminder to be mindful of our own online actions and try to approach these really complex situations with empathy and maybe a healthy dose of skepticism.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah, I think so too. Really interesting stuff today. I appreciate your insights on this.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
All right, that's it for today's deep dive. Make sure to subscribe and check back soon for our next episode.